So recently, you may have seen that there was a space flight featuring a bunch of celebrity women, and this got a lot of negative feedback online because it was basically framed in a very feminist way. But actually, I actually didn't look at this as being an entirely negative thing. I actually thought this was pretty cool and pretty positive for right wing reasons that we'll get into shortly. I've got to say, I thought that the cynicism around this was a bit unnecessary because actually the thing itself is a pretty cool accomplishment. So it was done by Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos's space company that he founded back in 2000, I think it was. Yeah, and as it says on Wikipedia, they've operated with a very low profile, and basically Bezos himself has funded this. They've done, I think, now 11 manned missions and have taken 38 people up in space, which is pretty good. It's some sort of low Earth orbit, so it's not like, that far out. But when you see the footage, you say, okay, no, this is what I would consider space anyway. And Bezos himself has gone up on it. He went up in 2021 in the first crewed mission, which I've got to say, like, I've seen footage of rockets blowing up. Like, there's no surviving it. It's like, okay, it's a plane crash. That's going to be rough. If you're very lucky, you might survive. Not this, right? You're not surviving this. So anyway, I was looking at this like, okay, fine, and the one that normally captures all the headlines is Elon Musk's one, because of course Elon Musk's very large social media presence, and they had that, the catching on the rig. I don't know the proper technical names for these things. And so Elon Musk's one has had a lot of publicity. But this is also chugging along in the background. And I like this kind of private space flight initiatives. Because honestly, it looks like the governments have got absolutely no interest in going back in space, does it? So anyway, you can yourself book a flight on Blue Origin. And if you scroll down, it doesn't tell you the price, but it does tell you that you have to collect, they will collect $150,000 deposit. Now, I don't know whether I don't know how much it costs to go on here. It might say somewhere, but it doesn't immediately say it here, but I can't afford that. So I'm not going into space anytime soon. But the point is that it's actually good that space travel becomes normalized and industrialized and safe, and something so normal that women will do themselves. Because the thing is, there's a kind of pattern in the way that mankind's exploration and development has always followed. And you can see this just going back to the earliest days. A group of men will go and explore and discover something, and they will spend many years roughing it out. And then after a while, when the frontier has been made safe, women begin to come along too. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with any of that. And it actually makes complete sense, right? The people who like taking risks go off and take the risks. A bunch of them die. But then when the risks have been surmounted, then the people who don't enjoy taking risks but want to come and make the thing a permanent residence then also begin coming. And there will be many, many advantages for, space travel for just people, right? Like, I imagine it's going to be a lot quicker to travel from, say, London to New York via space than it will be to take a 9-hour flight or 8-hour flight across the Atlantic, right? So, and to get around the world, I'm sure it's going to be way quicker to do all of these things. Not only that, but just if you want to go to the moon or to Mars, whatever, well, we need to have developed technology. And so these flights are what are going to get us to there eventually. So it's good to see progress is actually being made in the face of all of the innovating forces in our society. So anyway, as you can see, this was crewed by a bunch of women who I'm going to guess are celebrity women. I don't know who these people are, right? They are Aisha Bao, Amanda Nugent, Gail King, Katy Perry, who's the only one I've heard of. I think Lauren Sanchez is Bezos's girlfriend, and Kerry Ann Flynn. Like I said, I don't know who these people are, but what this signifies when it's a group of girls doing it for girly reasons, and it's like, because like they're not interested in breaking through new frontiers. What they're interested in doing is doing the thing that is cool, that everyone goes, oh wow, that is cool. And they were like, yeah, see, girls are doing this cool thing too, which means that the thing is normal, it has arrived, and now it's a sort of a domesticated frontier that needs to become very normal and, just standard part of everyday life. And that's what this symbolizes. And actually, if you look at it in those terms, this is a pretty cool thing. And actually, this actually marks progress forward. And I've got to say, like, a lot of people watched this film, this little like minute-long clip of them, with a great deal of cynicism, and I was like, okay, no, this is actually cool. Like, this is actually pretty badass. Like, I don't think I'd want to be up there. Like, I'm not a fan of heights or like taking experimental journeys. Like, I'm the sort of guy who has got to worry about how safe things are. And the fact that we can do this is pretty great, and people are kind of missing the point. This isn't about the women saying that they themselves have done it. Obviously, a bunch of men have made this happen and shot these women up in space. And I believe that they were in this low Earth orbit for 10 minutes or something before they came back down. But I mean, this looks badass. This looks great. This is very cool. And I could see, if you had enough money, why you would want to do this. Right? This is a very impressive thing. And when it gets, in like, 10 or 15 years' time, however long it takes, so that these can become commercial and affordable, well, that's really, really awesome, isn't it? Within my lifetime, we could be seeing commercial space travel, at least to get around the Earth, a lot quicker than we have done previously, which is amazing. It's genuinely amazing. So what I think the Women in Space marks is an actual accomplishment, an actual step forward for mankind, and a step forward in, like I said, the domesticity of spaceflight. If women are generally quite risk averse, and so if they're prepared to go into space, if it's been made safe enough for them to do this, well, that's a step forward for the progress of the entire human race, I would say. And like I said, there was a lot of cynicism about this, but you probably see it in the comments, right? I see, like, and like in Vision here, I think people are truly missing the bigger picture. Yeah, I do too. And because it is framed in kind of culture war-y terms, you'll see it here, like, the target star symbolizes the ambition of setting big goals and the efforts to advocate for civil rights. And it's just like, oh God, all right. I mean, they have to share it in woke terms, obviously, but the thing itself is actually pretty damn cool. And I'm glad that this sort of thing can happen. Like, even if it was a bit cringe watching the actual thing itself. But they seem to have a good time, which is nice. And everything went fine. They came back down to Earth safely, and everything was fine. Like the mission went apparently without any hitches. And that's really cool. This again is just a really great accomplishment. And I'm sure Elon's doing much the same sort of stuff with his. And so it's just nice to see this happening, right? It's nice to see that despite all of the things that are going wrong, there are islands of progress, islands of success that can be counted and will hopefully in, 10, like I said, 10 or 15 years time, develop into something really quite futuristic that will be very productive. It'd be nice to be able to go on holiday and not have to spend 12 hours on a plane, for example, even though I really shouldn't be, I shouldn't be too ungrateful, because I'm sure my granddad would have been like, well, it'd be nice to have gone on holiday and not spend a month on a ship or something like that, right? So I shouldn't whine, but I think this is cool. And despite the fact that it's got this kind of, feministy, girly sort of aspect to it, I still think this is pretty awesome, and it is quite impressive. And I think people are kind of missing the wood for the trees. Like I said, when women feel safe and comfortable to do this sort of stuff, that means we have a genuine accomplishment under our belt, gentlemen. So well done to everyone at Blue Origin. That's spectacular work. And onwards and upwards.